Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Heal Yourself Naturally. I'm back. My name is Nicole Dromi. I'm here with Hava Levy and Sarah Woods Kender. We are so excited about today, but before we start, I'd love to take a moment to give our thoughts and prayers to everybody affected by the most recent hurricane out in North Carolina. We have a lot that has gone on in this world, and the complete devastation that has hit and affected this area is really astounding, and we are at a complete loss for words. When I heard the news not long ago, it's just really sad to think about the devastation and people that are missing and families that are uprooted, and our prayers go out to all of you, and we hope to only hear good things, and may you find your families for those who are missing. And yeah, so on a that was a pretty solemn note, but now we're going to go on to the topic of what we wanted to discuss today. Today, we're speaking about Herbal Pantry and beginning our healing journey by stocking up with certain herbs and things in your home. And we want everybody to have the ability to prepare for emergencies, maybe not natural disasters, but even those, you can prepare for certain things at home and have certain things at home in order to heal yourself naturally and care for your families and loved ones in a time of need. And we are going to be discussing what's really important to have at home to heal yourself from the most basic emergencies and more, because certain herbs can treat various amounts of diseases, or even just something as simple as a cut or a burn. So I'd love to start off with Sarah. This is something that Hava and I love to go back and forth on, about what are your favorite things in case of an emergency. Let's say you had to uproot right now and leave the house. What are your most favorite items, or your most loved items that you would take with you wherever you're going in order to be prepared for whatever may come?
How many do I get to choose?
I didn't specify because I know you don't like the number thing. I think,
I don't like to
because
pick favorites. They know when you pick favorites, It's like,
I, I
okay.
know we won't tell them.
I should
Don't
close
tell
the
your
door to my
brother, but
spice.
you're my favorite, right? Don't tell your sister. I say that to all my kids. Don't tell, but you're my favorite.
Well, I think it's a great thing to teach people that they have a veritable medicine chest in their own spice cabinet. And
Right.
every one of the spices and herbs that we use for cooking have a medicinal quality. I guess if I were to have a go bag and I would have put some of my spices and herbs in there on the culinary aspect of things, as opposed to, not everybody obviously is going to have the medicinal herbs that we use. I would say, well, one would be honey, because honey is very healing. Honey can be used topically on burns. It can be used for sore throats. It can be used for allergies. It can be used just because we love the bees and we love the taste of it. Very healing. So honey, and
Real honey.
it's a
Real honey.
raw local honey is what you
Right.
want. You don't want the crap in the grocery stores because it's crap.
Right.
It's pasteurized, and they kill it. Um, and then I would pick garden sage. And garden sage I like for lots of different things, including hormone balance, but also for sore throats and for burns and for pain topically. You could make a poultice with sage, and you could put it on, well, any kind of injury, because it's very antimicrobial, but it's wonderful for burns, and it's wonderful um, for pain, like, if you have joint pain, even you can use sage. But internally, it's excellent for sore throats and for strep throat. So, I treat a lot of people that have strep throat, and you don't need to go on antibiotics for strep throat. It's pretty easily treatable with herbs. And sage is absolutely my number one. Sage and honey, and propolis too, but that's not really part of this conversation. So, and then I would pick rosemary. because rosemary is very antimicrobial. Rosemary is excellent for brain, excellent for eye function. Uh, and I love rosemary. Um, and then I guess I would also choose, I won't choose too many. This will be my last one.
Okay. No, we have an hour to discuss this. We can go
That's true.
for as many. Yeah.
Well, I love things.
Even something not as common as sorry to cut you off, but not as common as a kitchen pantry herb, like something that you would suggest for your clients to, okay, you may
Oh,
not
okay.
need it
So,
now.
yeah.
You may not need it now, but it's always good for emergencies to purchase it, storage it properly, store it properly, and have it at home in case you need it. Well, what would be in that go bag of your not so common herbs?
Oh my goodness. I was just thinking of another one. Well, I love cardamom, and although cardamom's excellent for burns and it's antimicrobial, but what was the one I was just thinking of? It'll come to me.
Okay.
Okay,
It'll come
Sorry,
to me.
let's
But
I
then,
stooped you. Sorry.
those are my favorites. So, any of the aromatics are very antimicrobial, and they're excellent for colds and cough. Like thyme is great for coughs. So you really do have a medicine chest in your spice cabinet and your herb cabinet. And of course, I guess the other thing, maybe you're thinking things like castor oil, stuff like that, perhaps.
Anything that you would say, I'm leaving the house right now. I got to go out of town for a couple of weeks. What do I take with me? Like, what is my
Mommy's
go-to?
little helper.
Exactly. Everybody needs a grab bag. I have mine ready at all times. If I'm taking a spur of the moment vacation or whatever it is, I don't need to like now rummage through my cabinet, my healing cabinet and whatever. It's always just ready to go. If I see something out of stock, I always refresh it. But there's things that I don't leave the house with because you just never know what's going to happen.
Right. Yeah, I
Right.
guess that those would be the ones that I'm thinking of off the
Right.
top of my head without
Hmm.
having prepared anything for this talk today. I think that would
Sorry.
be.
you're good.
Oh,
You're
that's okay.
amazing.
I
You
like
are
to
you
think of.
always
No, well,
give
you know what?
something
Honey is
new. I
really
love
number
it.
one. Honey is number one, and people take it for granted in so many ways. And not only that, being able to buy locally is one of the more important things. And not just the honey, the honeycomb. The honeycomb has a lot of its benefits as well. So if you have the opportunity to go to a local farmers market, or a honey farm nearby, stock up on it. It never expires, right? Honey is such a beautiful thing that it never expires, and you should always have good honey on hand no matter what. I love that. And also sage, you can grow your own sage, you can grow your own rosemary, or if you can't, or you don't want to, it's always good to have in your spice cabinet. So I think that's something great that people should take into account and bring it into their home. Hava, what are some of your favorites?
Right. So some of my favorites will be probably cayenne. I usually carry cayenne in my bag with me at all times because the cayenne, and I also have seen it how it works nicely in times of need, like if someone cut the finger or someone has a sore throat or you're just traveling and you feel a little bit dizzy, you put a little bit cayenne on your tongue, and it really brings the blood flow circulation, as well as I found in a there was a one case of one woman in a supermarket who fainted, and thank God that I had the cayenne. So I rushed to her. I put like 1, 2 drops, and she was fine. So I found the cayenne is very useful to have on hand at all times. Now the question is how we want to have the cayenne, or either in a powder. You can carry in a small bag. You can have a tincture. So you can also can have it as an oil. So that's why I also make a cayenne salt travel size cayenne salt. So that also helps. So the cayenne is, I think, is my favorite. I found that many people also who have a little bit like a stomach problems, the cayenne will really help. And you might say that's crazy, cayenne is spicy, it can cause problems. No, it actually is a healing. So the cayenne is my favorite. Next I would say well, See, I learned in the School of Natural Healing, so and a lot of things that I learned are from Dr. Christopher, that he suggested to have a lobelia on hand, and the lobelia is something that really helps to calm the stuff down. Lobelia really helps to bring someone who is in a shock state, bring him back. And I had also wonderful example of someone at the midst of my wedding, of my son's wedding. Someone ate something that was not good, and she started having an allergic reaction. Thank God that I had the lobelia in my pocket. I gave her a few drops of a lobelia. In a couple minutes, she was fine. Her mom rushed to me. She said, "My daughter is fine. Thank you, thank you." Also, it's good in asthma attacks. It's good in cough. It's good in many variety of things. So I found lobelia is like, and I even on the label that I prepared the remedy, I put a thinking herb. So because that's what it's usually said, that lobelia is a thinking herb. Lobelia goes in and thinks what to do and how to help people. So I would say lobelia is my another herb to go. Other things, obviously, what Sara said are amazing. Rosemary, that can be also taken either in a essential oils, right? They can be also in a tea. They can be also as a. So I love tea tree oil, and I found tea tree oil is very useful to have it in your pocket. Tea tree oil is wonderful because it helps with infections, to clean your mouth if needed. If there is some sort of a bacteria, you can put a little bit tea tree oil on your hand. So that's one of those herbs that I love. Obviously, there's many other ones, and we probably will dive deep more. But I think listeners will now, if they will have lobelia, cayenne, and sage, and rosemary, and cayenne, I think you have a whole pantry. You can treat from cuts to throat pain. Absolutely incredible. Yeah.
Yeah, and I can
Yeah,
think
honestly,
I can think
go
of
ahead, go ahead.
yeah, three other things too. I mean, just to stay on that whole mode of what people might have in their homes already, would
Right.
things like onions and garlic and mustard, these things help move
Correct.
things out of the body. I'm thinking, an acute cold situation where it's in the middle of the night and you're in, someone's kind of struggling to breathe, but not in so much of an emergency situation that you would bring them to the hospital. You could make back in the day, a mustard plaster was used all the time for things like
Yes.
whooping cough and for sticky phlegm cough. So there's a
How do you
certain
make a mustard plaster?
yeah,
I
so
don't think
there's,
I've ever heard that term.
yeah, so there's a certain way to do it, because it can burn the skin if you're not careful. So you're basically taking your mustard right from the pantry, and it's in a powder form. And what I would do is I would get a warm, soft cloth, and I would just plaster all that mustard paste. So you mix it with a little water and put it on the cloth, and you don't put the mustard directly on the back. You
Hmm.
put it in between the cloth, and then you would wrap in a warm cloth and maybe even a heating pad on top of that, and that will just penetrate through the skin, and it will break up the phlegm that someone's having a hard time coughing up. Onions are also very good. They have a high amount of quercetin in them, so they're excellent for allergies and they're excellent for viruses. And then a garlic is antimicrobial. You could use that in all different ways. A really nice circulatory tonic. It's just a good, antibacterial if anyone has a cold or cough as well. So all of those three together are movers. They're going to just move things out of the body. Um,
Right.
and that's easy enough to cut up onions and garlic, and you could make a chutney with it if you wanted to and add a little honey. You can just eat it. And a lot of times, back in the day with the mustard plasters, people would take an onion and make an onion poultice for ear infections. And
Right.
so
That's
just
my favorite thing for ear infections, actually. With one of my kids, that everything I tried, he had an ongoing ear infection for almost 2 months. It was like on and off. And kids also, they heal differently when there's different stressors around them. So I was really stressed out at the time. I had just had a baby, and maybe I wasn't giving it the attention it needed to give. But then I finally caved in, gave antibiotics. It didn't cure it. It was the only time he ever received antibiotics in his life because I was so desperate. And then Hava was like, you know what? Enough. Take an onion, put it in the oven, cut it in half, make onion headphones, wrap it around his ear. And I'm like, no, he's not going to sit with me. He's not this. And then finally, I talked my husband into sitting with him. The next day, there was no more ear infection after like a good 3 weeks after the antibiotics had even finished. So I know it wasn't the antibiotics doing, it was the onion. And, you know, different bodies respond differently to different remedies or herbs or spices. And it's always good to try things out. Onions are one of the most more important herbs to have in the house, and we take them for granted. We use them just for cooking, but they're so medicinal, like you said. And garlic as well, and honey. I mean, you know, a child's feeling sick, you could just give them a tiny bit of garlic on a spoon with honey, have them chew on it nicely, and it'll work wonders on the body. And I think people just need to understand that the little things that they start adding to their pantry makes a whole big difference the long run, because they start to experiment and see how it works well with their family. And it's really great when you hit that learning curve and you're like, wow, onions are not just for cooking. I can use them for 20 different things. I love this onion, the simple onion, what it can do. What do you think, Hava, in terms of, let's not just talk about herbs. We're talking about natural healing, right? And in natural healing, sometimes we need something else other than herbs. What are some things that you would have at home? I heard Sara mention a hot bottle or like a warming blanket. That's something that I feel like every house should have, something to heat things through. What else do you suggest for people to have at home at all times?
Okay, so there's a few things that I would suggest, and I would say, like Sara mentioned, one of the most important things is a rubber hot bottle. Everyone should have 2 or 3 rubber hot bottles, or maybe 2 rubber hot bottles and 1 electric one. This is a must. Every home should have it. The next thing that I would suggest for to have is what can be the other things that I would suggest? Okay, for me, I would say very important to have a moxa, because moxa is a wonderful tool for healing. Is a mugwort that's been prepared, looks like a cigars. Mugwort.
You showed it once in one of our podcasts.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I did. So mugwort is, I would suggest to everyone have a simple, normal size moxas at home. Other things that I would suggest to have at home is ear candles, because when we treat ear pain or so, ear candles are good to have at home, because, or even just release the pressure from the ears. I think it's very important to have. And you might say, why need it? Well, you know, if you're building your home, you're building your place to be able to treat, you need to have those stuff. And I really strongly suggest to start piling up and have those on hand at all times. Another thing that I found that it's very useful, it's not new, but many people are learning about this right now, but it's called light therapy. Now, there is a light therapy machines that are very expensive, and there is a light therapy that are cheap. I would suggest as the beginners, you should start getting something like cheaper, not very cheap, but in a between, something about $200-300 machine, even light therapy that really will start helping you. And why you need the light? Because the light is a healing. The light brings healing. It brings rejuvenates cells. And I found this absolutely incredible in ear pain, stomach pain, in times of burn, in time of broken bones, on many other accidents. So it's good to have a light at home. It's very useful. I found it is absolutely incredible, especially people who are suffering from back pain. If they send a light toward that area, it really helps to regenerate. So it's good to have at home, you know. It's also fun for children. And I also love light therapy because sometimes you need to send more heat, or sinuses, too much pressure on the sinuses. We use the light, simple light bulbs, but light bulbs are not good anymore because they are using LEDs and other stuff. But if you use classical ones, that are good, and there is a special treatment that really helps to heal the sinuses. So light therapy is something that I would suggest to have it and at home at all times. And another thing, maybe least favorite for people, but enema. I just had a case. I have a case right now of my relative who is not feeling well, and she's in New York, and my cousin is calling me all the time about her mom, that she's not feeling well, and she's very skinny, and they think, oh, there's nothing to come out, like in the stomach, there's nothing. She didn't eat for 3-4 days. I said, don't worry, you do the enema, you'll see. And yes, and enema is important tool to have at home, because enema is something that can remove parasites, remove toxic stuff that are gathering in the stomach. We live in a society where it's too much garbage we accumulate. People don't poop enough, and if they eat wrong food or suffering from fever, enema is the one. So have an enema as well. So that's my favorite tools. I mean, obviously we can go more, but that's like the
Right.
basics that I would
No,
suggest.
it's basics. It's
Hava,
basics.
Yes,
it's
ma'am.
so interesting that I've the last few weeks. Now I always get people in the shop with digestive problems.
Yeah.
Because that's like number one besides insomnia. But the amount of people that have come in just since we've been doing this podcast with chronic constipation. Like we're talking, this kid the other day came in and he's like, I could go week, 6 days. And he said, and then there was another lady too, same thing.
Yeah.
And then at one point they have to go to the hospital because there's nothing's coming out. And
Right.
so, the tools like the enema is what I actually brought up to a couple of them
Yeah.
in honor of you, because it's just something that I always just forget. It's not
You're
the
so
way I
sweet.
was trained. I'm thinking Senna, Cascara Sagrada, let's move the bile, and all those things help. But the tried and true enema, if you want to stay out of the hospital, which I absolutely recommend people do. I love that idea with the enema. It's excellent.
Yeah.
And
It's must. I'm telling you, they did yesterday. They did enema on her, and in the beginning she would throw up stuff, and I said there's a lot of mucus buildup, but why not to do an enema? And they done an enema, and the first time nothing came out, but in a couple of hours, then suddenly boom, like so much garbage came. So today she feels better. She's still weak, but that just shows you that there is no healing if we are plugged. And I found this 1-to-1 mucus and the stomach accumulation. It's goes together. Somebody who's coughing, have a stubborn cough, and temperature does not go down, and that just shows you there is so much pile up in the stomach. Do the enema and you'll see the results. Like, this is incredible.
Right.
And people need to learn, like seriously learn how to use an enema and have an enema on hand.
yeah, and people need to learn, in my experience, a lot of people don't even know the body. Like I would, they don't even know where to point where the liver is. Like
True.
there's just some major basic knowledge that could be disseminated, which is what I try to do in my apprenticeship. Just basic like anatomy and physiology, like and people still parroting the appendix is a useless organ. Like, okay, no,
Nothing is useless in our body,
the
people.
body has it for a reason, right? So
Right?
It's so funny. One time I was in the hospital, and there was this lady. My husband had some sort of a skin problems, and his students, they took him to the hospital. You need to see that. I said no, but they got more, and I took him from the class straight to the hospital. Anyway, so and then they called me. Oh, we took your husband. Okay, fine. So I went to see my husband. I was sitting there waiting for the results, and they obviously will call everything as a staph infection, whatever. But next to me there was this girl, and the doctor comes, oh, you have a problem, because we probably will have to remove your organ. We have to remove your appendicitis. It's how we call
Appendix.
appendix.
She had appendicitis, yeah.
Yeah, so we have to remove it, and I'm like laughing, and I'm like, maybe I should just open the window, and like, not the window, but
The
this
curtain.
fabric that separates between the beds. And she's like, when was the last time did you shit?
Shit.
And she's like, I just wanted to say it. And I was holding myself, and while they've been asking her, not even one time, the doctor asked, when was the last time you went to the bathroom? This is the main question that was supposed to be asked by the doctor. So no, they just, okay, we will have to remove your appendix. Like, no, you just have to flush, do some enema. She will go to the bathroom. As hopefully it was not infected. From what I hear her talking, it was just probably just the beginning, because it started like a day or two ago. So that's not the worst case. You didn't probably poop for a couple weeks, and that's it. But doctor was not aware as well, and they just like, okay, let's roll you to the room. And I was
To
like
the
so
OR,
upset.
yeah.
I was so upset, I'm like,
Well, they probably
They
scared her,
solve
too.
things by cutting pieces out of us. That's their best
Yeah, and
solution for everything.
they use a lot of fear too. So I'm sure they made this the biggest worst case scenario in this little woman's mind. We've got to cut it out or you'll die kind of scenarios when
Right.
and and again to that point is like, when you know your body, you're not as fearful about the things that happen,
Right.
or that can happen, right?
Yeah, listen to your body. And also, once you're treating family members or people in your household, you get really attuned to how they are feeling without them having to project it. There's subtleties and little signs and even behavioral things, and you can pick up on it. Once you are so in tune with your body, you become more in tune with others, right? And that's where we want you to start, is to become more in tune with your body and listen to those signs. And why am I getting these rashes all the time? Or why do I have so much PMS, right? Women are like, oh, it's normal. I have PMS. Well, no, it's not normal. There's something going on with the hormones at this point. Maybe you need to take some herbs to balance things out a little bit. Maybe it's your glands. Maybe it's your thyroids. Maybe it's this. But no, people are like, no, I need to go on hormone medication, or, whatever it is, or I'm just going to be, yeah. So listen to your body, right? That's number one.
And the things we've normalized, right? The things
Yeah.
we've normalized as normal, which aren't normal.
Right? Like going to the bathroom every other day or every couple of days. If you
Yeah.
Google if you
Like horrifying.
Google, yeah, it is horrifying. If you Google normal bowel movements, you'll see that it's normal to go 2 to 3 times a week. It's like, no, it's not normal. Maybe 2 to 3 times a day is
Hey,
how you should be going, but right, Google is not our friend, guys. We are your friends. We're here to teach you.
I have a few other things we can add to the list.
Please, yes, I
let's
want
do
that.
it.
So, a foot bath.
Right.
Right.
Yep.
A lot of healing can be done through the feet, whether it's a headache,
Exactly.
or whether it's even digestive problems, or foot fungus, which seems to be a topic.
Hemorrhoids too.
And what?
Hemorrhoids. For
Hemorrhoids.
the seeds bath.
Yeah. I love the good foot bath, and also the things to have on hand. I'm constantly, I would have to say so often, not constantly, but so often, when someone will contact me about something, I'm like, salt. Just use salt. Use salt and water and soak. And that can be hard to heal wounds. That can be lack of circulation. That can be it's so many things that salt can help with. That
What kind of salt? Like sea salt?
Yeah, so I would have people get a nice big bag of Epsom salt to have on hand, and
Right.
always have a good big bag of sea salt, which they're I think molecularly, or they're essentially the similar salts. Like magnesium is the base of a sea salt, and so is the Epsom salt, but one's culinary and one's not, obviously. But both, I love both because you never know when
Okay.
you might have to gargle with it or whatever,
Mhm.
a sore tooth, whatever it is. So a nice foot bath. Um, and then think about all the things too. You could heal sprains and strains with a foot bath with different slurries of herbs like comfrey. But good old sea salt and water is just it'll cure what ails you for acute pain or anything.
Right. It
Yeah.
can even help manage a fever. I've had a case with one of my kids that spiked a fever so high that, all I needed was a nice big tub for his foot soak. I put some, I think it was at the time apple cider vinegar and water, really, really warm water, and wrapped him up really nicely, put a ice cold towel on his head, and his 106-degree fever that wasn't breaking started gradually going down within an hour or two. It was almost completely gone. And, something as simple as water and vinegar did the job.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, definitely like a tub big enough to fit your feet in. Also, people don't really, they don't, they throw out old towels a lot, right? So in healing, you should keep those towels. You should keep them in case you really need it. Also natural cloths. So anything that's made from natural fibers, so cotton, 100% cotton or flannel or linen,
Right.
just natural cloths so that you can wrap up those poultices on your body, things like that. Don't get rid of it. Put it in a pantry with your healing stuff, with your hot bottles, with your pedicure tub, or your big water tub, with all those things, because you'll one day need them. Something as simple as also a good source of apple cider vinegar. Right, it can heal so many things. It can really flush the system out when you have a really big virus. Even soaking in it can help manage a fever. I don't know what else do you ladies think we should talk about in terms of like
I
what you
would
should have
tell,
on hand?
right. So, while Sarah was speaking, I remembered another important thing is just a regular shower in your house, right? Why? Because you can play with hot and cold, and that's called hydrotherapy. Same thing, the same idea of soaking the feet. And also in my classes, I do show even buckets of a hot and cold and switching between one bucket that where you hold your feet on a very high, and then and you hold your feet inside on a very hot water, and cold where it's very icy and just playing in the between. As well as in the shower, you can just send, let's say, a hot water over the area where you feel the pain. It can be in the back, a front, or even hair. If you have a headache or if you want to help to grow hair, it's circulation, right? That's another wonderful thing. And playing with hot and cold, you send hot, and after, I would say, in a couple minutes, you switch it to the cold and then go back to the hot and cold, hot hydrotherapy. Thank you, Sarah. Another thing I found that's important, as well as the Epsom salt and salt, obviously, I found the charcoal and clay. Those two things are very important to have at home. I found charcoal can be used in so many cases. If you remember, I shared a case with you one time with this lady. So by soaking her in the clay and then applying charcoal over the area, we healed the bruise. It was absolutely incredible. So from that infection that the doctors couldn't solve, and there was such infected leg, and the doctors didn't know what to do. They gave antibiotics, nothing worked. But soaking in the clay with salt and then coming out and applying charcoal poultice over that infection did miracles. Obviously, we also used yarrow tea and as a wash, but charcoal and clay are also incredible, right? And clay, you can take it internally, um, and also the babies, if they have a diaper rash, or the clay is one of those that we want to have on hand at all times. So yeah, I mean, I think whoever will listen will see how they really build a whole pantry here.
Right.
And I love that. Just to touch on what the what the actual mechanism is and why clay and salt and charcoal work so well is they draw things out of the body. So
Right.
you can draw infection, and it even, because the skin is this amazing organ, right? We talked about that last time, that it excretes and it also draws things in. So when you apply things to the skin, you're actually getting inside. It's also helping you push things out. So just to
Right.
point that. And then another thing that I want to add to the healing power of just water with the shower and using that. But I've had some colds in the past that, I've done lots of different herbs. I know exactly what to do, and nothing would really work. But what did was a good old bowl of hot water, and you just put your face over it and you breathe in. It really loosens up phlegm, for any kind of cough or sinus issue.
Yes.
And so you could do the old method of putting the towel over your head and just get into that steam and breathe deeply 20 minutes, adding in if you want to, but I don't even think it's necessary, things like rosemary and thyme and oregano and lavender. Those antimicrobial, those smelly parts, or what we call the terpenes, will go right up into those mucous membranes and will help just kill off bacteria that's in there. But steam is amazing. It really is
Right.
Right.
a lifesaver.
I agree. Also, people can start off their healing pantry with some basic essential oils, right?
Sure.
I think that everybody should have essential oils on hand, and it's something like in a steam bowl, you could add a couple of drops of eucalyptus essential oil, and it also, because of its fragrance and antimicrobial, it can help loosen things up and also help cure. Um, Things like peppermint oil to help reduce fevers or manage fevers, not reduce really, because you want to manage it. You never want to get rid of it completely. Your body does that on its own when it's ready. Tea tree essential oil, I know the Hava mentioned. I have used it so many times, just like on a hangnail that I pulled off, and all of a sudden I'm really swollen the next day, and there's like an infection that started, even though I'm a clean freak and I wash my hands all the time. Obviously, my body, whatever. So a little bit of drops of essential oil over there, tea tree essential oil, and within a couple hours, it's all gone. Um, Lavender essential oil is great for burns as well as a calming agent.
Oh,
So if
good.
you have a headache, I know I'm a fast learner. Well, it took years, but many classes and teaching people later, I've been able to accumulate, my knowledge too. And I always travel with a pack of 4 different essential oils, and those are my main 4. It's eucalyptus, lavender, tea tree, and peppermint, because you can do so many things with those 4. Start with those 4 and you are golden. So let's say you're really stressed out, having a stressful day, have a huge headache, a little bit of lavender essential oil really calms your nerves and stuff. So yeah, I love essential oils. I use them a lot on my kids too. Sometimes they're freaking out or whatever it is, a couple drops on their bed, they have no idea, but it's really calming for them. Some people are sensitive to it directly on the skin, so you can always mix it up with a natural oil.
Carrier oil.
Um,
Right.
yeah,
Mary,
a
yeah.
little bit of coconut oil or olive oil, mix it up with something and then apply it to the skin so that you don't react to it. Yeah, I just wanted to put that out there. I think people should always have some good essential oils in their pantry, no matter what. I treated a 3rd-degree burn on myself with something as simple as honey and lavender and aloe vera, and then eventually charcoal, because it wouldn't dry up. So those 4 things I had on hand. And even if I did, I was actually out of town, and it was the one time I didn't bring things with me because I wasn't with my children. And my husband and I went to Miami for a wedding, and I got a 3rd-degree burn from water, from, getting, it was getting coffee in the morning or tea. I got a hot, steaming hot cup of water to make a tea for myself, because I brought my own teas. That was the one thing I did bring. And someone knocked into me, and the water spilled all over my sweater, and it clung onto my skin. When I
Oh,
removed it, it was a huge burn. It was horrible. I remember like thinking back, okay, like emergency prep. What do? I Postmated, or I think it was something like that, that I ordered stuff from the local health food store. I got some local honey. I got some lavender essential oil, some aloe vera, and I was like, all right, this is how I'm going to treat it for now. And eventually that's how I treated my third-degree burn, with those items, even when I got home, because you don't need to rush to the hospital and get some grafts or whatever it is, depending on the severity of it, obviously, or how much of the body it's affected. But those simple things you have to have on hand at all times, because you never know the emergency you'll be in. What else do you ladies think we should talk about in terms of, let's talk about children ailments. So our kids get sick. Let's say we have a big fever. What some of the herbs that we've talked about definitely help manage that. What would you suggest, Sara, if even a child or an adult has a high fever, or a fever that's not breaking over the course of a few days? What are some of your favorite herbs that you would use in order to help manage it?
Well, I like yarrow and catnip for fevers.
Right.
Um, but I would also be using cool cloths and tepid baths
Yeah.
for sure. And, just watching it that way. That's what I would do.
And a lot of hydration, right?
And of course, so I would do the yarrow and catnip tea. And I'd also be,
Combined, mixed together.
yeah,
Mhm.
I sure would. And even, an extract if necessary, but teas are always better, I think. And of
Yeah.
course the local honey in there to make it go down easier. And plus it's good for you. And then of course, lots of cool water, a cool cloth or a cool bath. And I'd also be making my own chicken broth or chicken soup. And I have
The Jewish penicillin.
that's right. And I'm not even Jewish.
I know. I know. It's just it's a
It's just the
coined
way it is.
term,
Yes,
right? It's just something that's been coined over the centuries. But I think every house needs to just know how to make a good chicken
it's the
broth, because
cure all, and there's so many
it
things
really
that
is.
you can put into a broth that they'll never know. I don't like
Right?
it, well, you'll never know it's in there.
Yeah.
And so I have like a bone soup mix, I call it, and I use things like there's several herbs in there, plus seaweed and powdered mushrooms, but I use astragalus, nettles, and burdock root. So astragalus root is this amazing, my next video is going to be on astragalus if I get out in my garden again, but it is wonderful for the immune system. It helps support the kidneys and the blood and the immune system. Of course, nettles is going to give you minerals and it's very nutritive. Um, I love burdock root because it's going to cleanse the blood. It's going to move the liver. It's just going to help you get rid of that cold quicker. And then seaweed is in there. So I use like 7 different types of seaweed, like kelp and um, kombu. And then that goes into the broth. And I have like a powdered mushroom blend, which I have to tell you, if you guys use powdered mushrooms, or if you don't, then I do suggest you do. But right now they're super hard to order wholesale and bulk, just because I think the mushroom coffee people are buying up. Oh, my purveyors are completely out. So I'm like, okay, but I buy a 14 mushroom blend and you put that in the soup as well and you make the stock with it. And people love the stock, and you can use chicken or you can use a beef marrow bone, whatever you prefer. You could just do veggie if you're not, if you're vegetarian.
Right.
And I would have that simmering. And my youngest daughter was really sick when she was like, oh golly gee, 6 or 7 years, 5 or 6 years old. And just like every 2 hours, she was vomiting every 2 hours. And within like 2 days, I got her up and going because she actually had to go for a trip. She went on a trip to Colorado to see her grandmother, and we had to go. So we had to get her ready. And in between, the vomiting, I'd be like, mushroom broth, sip, 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 water, and then at least getting some of that in her really helps turn all sorts of sicknesses around.
Right. And also, like you said, sip, sip, sip. Some people force water down their children's
Exactly.
throats, and especially if they're having something like, stomach spasms, whether it's diarrhea or vomiting, or even just not feeling well, the body is shutting down and you can't aggressively pour liquids down. So we have a 10 Mississippi sip rule. And when I ask you to drink water, we're drinking only 10 sips. And then I come back 30 minutes later and I'm like, 10 more sips and 10
Yeah.
more sips. And then
Yeah.
they've, completed their water intake for the day, but they have no idea. And it becomes easier on the body to take it in.
Correct.
And also, since I wasn't here for our last topic of skin, but our skin drinks as well, right? So if someone's not drinking properly in between those 10 sips, I would throw them in the bathtub. A nice lukewarm bathtub, nothing too hot, nothing too cold, and put them in there for 15 minutes with good old fashioned Epsom salt or something of the sorts, or just nothing at all, and let their skin soak, and their body would hydrate that way as well, because our body is, like you were saying, Sarah, it's also excreting, we're taking things out of the skin and we're bringing things in from the skin, and water is one of them. So good source of water is always great when you're not feeling well.
I would like to add something that I see a lot, and and this fear that we are not doing things correctly, or the fear that the body does not know what to do, and we need to interfere and we need to do something, when in reality we just have to sit outside and just look what the body is telling you when, let's say, the child is going through some sort of a crisis. And I found this very important because we been educated that the fever and the cough and diarrhea or throwing up, oh my gosh, this is so horrible, that's dangerous. I usually suggest mothers instead like using their fear tactic, where it's just my child is throwing, it's end of the world. It's not end of the world. And learning to appreciate those symptoms as a I would say as a puzzle solving. I don't know if it's like it's something like when you are on the side as an observer, as a healer, as a helper, sitting from looking and observing the symptoms. Those symptoms are basically will show you what is your next step and what the body needs from you. But if you turn on this fear mode, you no longer observer, and you just follow the fear and you're just losing it. So
Right.
what
Like
I
shoveling
think,
things down your kid's throat when they're throwing up, like food, you
right,
know,
so even now,
slowly,
like
slowly.
even now, like this for this 2 days, this that my as I said, my relative in New York, she's not feeling well. Like her daughter is called me, oh, she threw up, oh my gosh, oh, she like they it's not healthy, because we need to look at the body, and the body tells you, I have a fever and that's what I need. You provide me just the tools with like Sarah said, or either soups or either this, but you need to be an observer. To be a healer, you need to be an observer, to sit and look on the side and then connect the puzzle and treat accordingly. I think this is the base of everything. If the person throwing up, you're not just gonna okay, the body tells you, I want this stuff out, and we're like, oh no, we have to push food. Like, what do you mean? The person is without food. The person can go months without food as long the person is hydrated, right? And but we in our mind, it's like, oy vey, that's like throwing up, that's a red light, ambulance, and the people rush to the hospital just because throwing up, or people rush because of the diarrhea. What is the diarrhea telling you? Be an observer, look on the side. Diarrhea, what does it show? Diarrhea is something that the body creates as um, uh, and passes out something that was needed a quick pass out. So that actually shows you how we are stagnant, how much garbage is in the system, so the body cannot detoxify quickly, so it creates this fast as a liquid to flush whatever the person ate, let's say. So it's a good sign. So you have to be a cough, you're throwing up. Did you throw up and there was a mucus inside? Yes. So thank you, that's a good thing, you know. And that's I really want people to appreciate this, understanding that the body is not stupid. Like, oh, fever of 104. Okay, fever can go 107. It will never burn itself. The body is not that stupid to say, okay, I'm going to set myself on fire and I'm going to burn myself down. Like, what the hell? It's all about survivors. You have a parasite and they're fighting to survive in your stomach. So basically, it's all about survivor. And if there is a fever, it's a survivor tactic. So that's a blessing, you know, and that's
Right.
what I want to people really understand that and then get all the tools. Yes, Sara, please.
Well, I want to just, you know, agree with you wholeheartedly with that. It's like sometimes the best approach is nothing at all, but to be calm and clear and not in fear. And I got to tell you though, we are going against indoctrination that has been just hammered into people's brains for over 100 years. Fear viruses, fear being sick. If your body responds, it's bad because your body isn't strong enough. You know, our bodies are built for this. They're literally built for this. And
Right.
when people are empowered with the knowledge of their own bodies, they will stop being in fear and then pushing that off on their kids. And then the
Right.
kids feel the mom is fearful. And you know, you can't heal properly in a fearful environment. So
100%.
I'm so glad you know you mentioned that. And I say a lot of times, you know, sometimes people come into the shop and I look at them and I'm like, sometimes the best approach is nothing at all. Like I don't
Or
want to
even a hug. I
or
found just
we're
give a
hugging,
hug.
we're hugging, we're
Just give
loving,
a
we're
hug,
doing that.
and you see
Right.
they start tearing up, and all what they needed is just a
Just to
hug.
be
And I
heard.
know Dr. Mendelssohn once mentioned, actually, he said, when the people go to the doctors, basically they go there at that time. Now it's even worse. But at that time,
Yeah.
people went to the doctors just to spill the guts, to
The
speak
vent.
with
Yeah.
someone, to say what they feel, and that's sometimes all what we need. But we like right away, okay, we have to do this, and then the person leaves with more fear
Yes.
than he came. That should be an opposite.
And feeling like they're a complete failure to their children because they don't know. And you came in there with like a list of things to ask, but they completely sidetrack you. Nowadays, it's so sickening. Like, luckily for me, I have a amazing family pediatrician that actually listens, and there's not many that actually listen or that will teach you and guide you and nourish you know, that relationship with your family and children, because that's what it is. They watch your family grow, whether it be in multiplying or watch your children grow in age. And so it's very important to find someone that not only knows how to prescribe medication, but knows how to listen to you, because they don't listen anymore. It's like, I have another patient in 5 minutes. I need to get in my quota of X amount of patients in a day. And you're wasting my time by asking me a stupid question. And that's how they really make you feel. They make you feel stupid, even if your question is valid.
And people
Right?
actually will come in and they actually do know their body, but the doctors will gaslight them or whatever. And I hear all the time, they want an affirmation. They want
Right.
someone to just listen to what they have to say. And
Right.
they'll say, oh, I told the doctor this, but they said it was unrelated. And I look at them, I'm like, how could they think that was unrelated?
Yeah.
And I can't
I have
think of
a
an
perfect
example, but I have
example
so
with
many
myself like
examples.
that so many times. I had copper poisoning from an IUD that lasted a couple of years until my body completely went kaput and gave out. And for over the course of a couple of years, you know, here and there, I would go to my OB and say, you know, when I get my period, I have this weird sensation like every month before I start my period or my ovulation, I get this insane swelling on the inside of my ankle. And he was like, okay, you know, like, what is this nutcase saying to me? And then I did my research, went on reflexology charts and whatever, and I realized that area is the fallopian tube.
Oh,
And
geez.
and then
Wow.
And he told me that I was crazy for the longest time, and I was telling him all my symptoms, and he's like, okay, then let's take it out. We'll wait a month and then put another one in. And I'm like, we're not going to take it out because I'm going to get pregnant. And I was so scared to get pregnant again. And I finally caved. I took it out. And when he took it out, he was like, wow, in my 30 years of practice, I've never seen anything like this. Like, it was completely corroded and,
Oh, no.
black, and my body reacted in such a way, and that I developed a mental illness from it. And then I did more research about that product and found out that most women that have had that certain brand have been misdiagnosed with schizophrenia.
Oh my God. Talk
And
about
so,
that.
yeah, this is my latest one. Say hi.
Hello.
Say hi. Yeah, hi.
This is time. I just got my dogs going.
Yeah.
They said hello. They think someone's here.
But, after I finally caved in and decided to take that wonderful device out of my body, I got pregnant with my latest creation, the love of my life, my favorite one.
Well, we'll have to have we'll actually have another topic, and we could talk about this.
I think so,
Herbal birth
about
control. I
birth
have lots
controls,
of,
and I have so much to say about it. I have lots of experience over the years of birth
so do
control,
I.
and
Absolutely.
yeah,
Well, I
and
mean, I have experience with the herbal birth control,
really,
the medical stuff for sure, but herbs,
yeah,
you don't need you don't need that. You don't need that.
yeah. Well, you know what? When you're young and you have so many children under 3 and 3 years, and then you just say, I can't do it anymore, you give in and you do something stupid like get an IUD, and then years later you're still regretting it. My body is still working through it. My hormones are still off, completely, but I do what I need to do in terms of herbs and listening to my body and not freaking out. It's not the end of the world. It's just about listening and not panicking, and no fear, no more doctors telling me I don't know what I'm talking about, because I do know what I'm talking about. I learned how to listen. And I have basic essential herbs in my home and 2 wonderful ladies that I get to speak to every other week. And we have this amazing podcast. And I hope everybody benefits from these podcasts and takes even just a little bit of information, and every time put it in that notebook that we hope you're making with all of these, or go back and listen to them when there's a time that you need to. And we'll see you all next week. I think we're on closing time right now, and I mean, not next week, next in 2 weeks. Yeah, in 2 weeks. And we will be talking about more necessary items that we need at home, how to prepare herbal remedies on your own, the differences between, a lot of people don't know what poultices are. We discuss them a lot today. Tinctures, how to make your own. We want a more hands-on course next time. And so we'll be showing you things more hands-on, and I hope you all enjoyed. And have a beautiful, blessed day. And again, all of our thoughts and prayers go out to everybody out in North Carolina.
Right.
We wish you the best. And to the rest of the world, we wish you the best. And we hope your time with us brought some light in your day. Thank you, ladies.
Amazing.
Yeah.
All the best, everyone.
Thank you.